Let us take some time to examine the meaning of the Passover within the teachings of the Bible. Let's move on to Galatians chapter 1, verse 6. I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who called you to live in the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel, which is really no gospel at all. Evidently, some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ. Is it permissible for the gospel of Christ to be altered or not? Absolutely not. However, it is said that some people try to pervert the gospel of Christ. Verse 8. But even if we, or an angel from heaven, should preach a gospel other than the one we preach to you, what will happen to them? Let them be under God's curse. As we have already said, so now I say again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than what you accepted, let them be under God's curse. The gospel that God preaches is intended to bring us blessings. But what happens when we accept a gospel other than the one He preaches? The phrase, let them be under God's curse, means being subject to eternal punishment in hell. Then, were these words given to instill fear over the concept of hell, which does not exist? Because there is indeed such a path, God has a great intention to lead His children to heaven, not to hell. Therefore, He admonishes us in Galatians chapter 1, verse 6. There is no other gospel. Do not follow any other gospel. Abide only in the gospel that God has delivered to us. Nowadays, many churches often use the term gospel. But when asked, what exactly is the gospel? Please explain in detail. They tend to become quite flustered. The reason lies in their failure to clearly organize the specific concept of the gospel. But is there nothing in the Bible that allows us to understand the gospel in detail? Since all answers are in the Bible, we must seek the answers within it. Let's turn to Colossians chapter 1. In verse 21 it is written, once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behavior. But now He has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you holy in His sight, without blemish and free from accusation, if you continue in your faith, established and firm, and do not move from the hope held out in the gospel. This is the gospel that you heard, and that has been proclaimed to every creature under heaven, and of which I, Paul, have become a servant. Here, we can gain one important clue. What did Paul do? Who diligently preached Jesus, the new covenant, the Sabbath day, the Passover, and the will of God? It was Apostle Paul. However, he summarized his entire life of preaching as the life of a servant of the gospel. Let's also see how else Apostle Paul's gospel activity is described. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6. He has made us. Here, us, refers to all the children of faith who believe in God, including Apostle Paul, doesn't it? What kind of ministers has He made us to be? He has made us competent as ministers of a new covenant. It describes us as ministers of the new covenant in carrying out gospel work. Through Colossians chapter 1 and 2 Corinthians chapter 3, it is demonstrated that Apostle Paul, in doing the same work, is referred to once as a gospel worker and another time as a minister of the new covenant. Then, are the gospel and the new covenant different or the same? They are indeed the same. Ultimately, the entirety of Apostle Paul's work in preaching and spreading the will of God was both the gospel and the new covenant. He was preaching the new covenant. Then, ultimately, we can define the gospel as the new covenant, right?